A world powered by the blockchain is being formed right in front of our eyes. Experts are calling it the Internet 3.0, the next digital revolution. It's leaving many investors and even institutions looking for a path to take an early position in this massive opportunity. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Dash, it's all speculation at this point. But what is certain is that the most profitable businesses for cryptocurrency and the blockchain is in the actual creation of these coins. This is why some of the top early adopters of Bitcoin, blockchain miners, fund managers, and even billionaires have come together to create a new vehicle to invest in the blockchain core itself. Get immediate access to this new company by going to crushthestreet.com/Bitcoin.
Hey guys, welcome into crushthestreet.com. I'm Kenneth Ameduri, and I want to talk today about the experience I had at the Texas Bitcoin conference. And what an experience it was. And I'm just so motivated and so excited about this space. And it's really something that I can get behind. I love the technology. I love that this money that's in it is attracting the smartest minds, and the technology is so disruptive. This is such a game-changing sector to be in, and I'm really happy to be part of it. It's still the Wild West, the early movers, the shakers, the trailblazers, and unfortunately, when you're the first one in the battle, in many cases, you can get shot. That's the likelihood. And I'm not talking about Bitcoin. I'm talking about a lot of the onset of technology and ICOs that are out there. And yeah, we're going to talk about that today. And again, it's attracting some of the smartest people because money attracts talent. And that's one of the things. So Omar of Crypto News, he brought up the Mahatma Gandhi quote. And I wanted to share that. And I thought it was so important and so relevant for Bitcoin. And that is, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. And I don't think there's too many people laughing at people who are holding Bitcoin nowadays. $6,000 Bitcoin is not something to laugh at, especially if you're the one not holding cryptocurrencies. It's something to laugh at because obviously those who are holding cryptocurrencies have the higher ground as the events unfolded. So it's not so funny anymore, Jamie Dimon. It's not so funny anymore, anyone else out there who continues to disparage cryptocurrencies. So we're definitely in the early stages of crypto. And in most other sectors, there are people who have been around for decades. And one of the things I noticed and I took away from this conference is that people who are veterans in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, they've been around like a year. And that's the difference. People that have been around for 5 years, let's say 2012, I mean, these are the forefathers of cryptocurrency. You know, walking around this conference, you go to a tech conference, a developers conference, there's people that have been around for 20, 30, 40 years. And if you've been around for a year, you're just like a baby in this. But people who've been around for a year, I mean, that's the kind of people who've attended this conference. I thought that was a really unique point to mention in this video. Another emotion I had, I guess, is I had a mixed feeling about the price of the conference. It was $400. It really does limit the people who can attend, especially new people who want to be educated on this, who haven't ridden Bitcoin up or some of these other cryptocurrencies, because a lot of you who've made money in cryptocurrency obviously can afford to pay the $400 ticket price. But at the same time, it does kind of limit the amount of people, which again, it's kind of the point of crypto is that it's available to even the little guys, but that's the free market, and I'm not going to argue with the free market. But just you know, something that I was thinking. And the other thing I thought was odd was the food trucks. They didn't take Bitcoin. They didn't take cryptocurrencies. I mean, it was a cash only sign on some of these vendors there, and I thought that was really, really off the wall. Okay, so probably the biggest takeaway from the conference is that for a group of libertarian anarchists, 400 people plus at this event, the most dynamic topic of discussion was probably regulations, taxes, enforcement, and compliance. And this kind of opened my eyes, and it really went to solidify why Bitcoin will continue to be the go-to for a storage of wealth and for the properties that it has, being that it has no central point of attack, and that it is that ideal decentralized store of value with limited and so many things, you know, very secure, unable to be hacked, immutable, anti-fragile, all of these things, you know. And when we started to talk about taxes and the government and enforcement, that's when I really started to wrap my mind around the fact that a lot of these ICOs and hedge funds and all these people that want to build upon blockchain have central points of attack, even Ethereum. I mean, Vitalik Buterin is at the top of Ethereum, and then under that is thousands of ICOs. So as a storage of wealth and money, certainly Bitcoin, the more government goes after it, it's that balance of enforcement, what the regulators try to do, the enforcement part of it, and the compliance. And I feel like the more that they try to enforce, the more the Bitcoin space just kind of goes and sidesteps everything. I don't know how many people are going to comply. I'm not saying you should comply, but the nature of Bitcoin is that it's unable to be controlled. But that isn't necessarily true for these other entities, which is where I agree with a guy like Tone Vays, who says, hey, I don't trust these other ICOs to be a competitor to Bitcoin or a competitor to Bitcoin's role as a store of money. But I would say that my mind was even more expanded to the opportunity that there is in blockchain. You have to get out of this box that every other token out there is a competitor to Bitcoin. There are millions and millions of stocks out there, right? Not every stock is doing the same thing. And these different ICOs are representing different technologies. And you might want to interact with a certain company that has a token because you want to use their decentralized platform to, let's say, produce content, like Steam it, for instance. You don't necessarily have to buy Steam, but you might appreciate the fact that it's a decentralized platform that you're not being censored on. Or how about a company that has a token that is encrypting data? This is one of the other things that I was shocked about. I mean, this is a room full of developers and hackers and some of the smartest people that know how to go after your most private and personal information. And here we are storing our stuff on Google and Carbonite and these Dropbox type things where they're centralized and they can be hacked. And there's people here creating decentralized solutions to encrypt data that would make it secure. And yeah, they have a token. They raised money doing that. But that isn't necessarily why you need to interact with this company. You don't have to speculate in the token. You might want to use their service just like you would use Amazon, but not invest in Amazon. This is the real use cases for these different technologies. And it's a new paradigm, and not a lot of people get that. You look at coinmarketcap.com and you assume that they're all competing against each other as if they're all the same thing, but these are completely different use cases. And yes, I walked away being even more impressed with Bitcoin's role in its decentralized ability to store value. And the more things get out of whack with the debt and the instabilities in our government, the more Bitcoin will go up. And the more governments try to control it, the more Bitcoin go up. And that's actually another point. Paul Snow, the chairman of the conference, he's also the founder of Factum, a super smart guy, by the way. He loves Bitcoin. And he brought up an interesting point. He said, cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin, certainly, they're heavily regulated. And if, in theory, right, Bitcoin can be considered a commodity in a certain way. If it's traded on the derivatives market, the CFTC might have something to say about it. And it's also potentially considered a currency, or is considered a currency. So there's tons of regulation when it comes to currencies. And then there's even more regulations when you call it a commodity. So in theory, it's very regulated. But at what point does the enforcement and the willingness to comply merge? And I think the ones that are going to have to do that are the ones with the centralized points of attack, and those are the ICOs, who are developing, in some cases, many technologies, and in a lot of cases, complete scams. So another thing that I thought was, and these are people here trying to start hedge funds and figure out, how are we supposed to do this? What are the laws? And everyone's operating in the gray on this. And everyone was blown away when one of the CPAs who has interpreted the tax law and has, I guess, heard from the upper management in the IRS and the government and regulators, he mentioned that traders that go from US dollars to Bitcoin and have a realized gain, but not an unrealized gain, but then go from Bitcoin straight to Ethereum. Like there's a lot of people who do that, who don't go back into US dollars, are going to have to realize those gains even if they don't go back into cash. They go from Bitcoin to Ethereum to Decred or whatever other crypto you want to trade. And a lot of people are doing this, and they were blown away because he was saying that you're going to have to realize gains at every transaction, even though you're not going back to US dollars. And now, if you're familiar with a 1031 exchange in real estate, every time, if you're an investor, you can buy a property, flip it, and roll those proceeds into a new property. This is called a 1031 exchange, and you defer the taxes. That's the benefit of the 1031. So you continue to roll those gains over into like assets that are alike. And I guess a lot of us, we're under the impression that it would be the same with cryptocurrencies, but it's not. And it's a tax nightmare. And the government really, they don't have the resources to go after this. They're already limited with who they can go after and what they're able to do. And again, it's going to come down to the ability to enforce and the willingness of people to comply. But it's so gray out there. It's unbelievable what is going on right now, and it's a new arena, and I love it. So an absolutely amazing event. I highly recommend people to go to an event like this. It's super inspiring. You're surrounded by some of the most smartest minds in the world, and you're learning about something that I think will completely disrupt the way we live here over the next few years. Blockchain is going to be integrated in so much of our technology. I'm solidified in my belief on Bitcoin. I do believe there's going to be an ICO bubble. And I agree with Tone Vase. Again, I bring him up again. I have a lot of respect for him. I just don't think he gives these other ICOs enough credit for the technology that they might be bringing online to solve real-world solutions. But I do believe there's going to be an ICO bubble, and I think that money is going to go back into Bitcoin. So do I think $6,000 is a Bitcoin bubble? Not yet. Not yet. As much as it's gone up. I mean, what, 10x over the last year, and then a lot more prior to that? This is amazing, guys. So a lot of exciting things in the works here. We're just on the precipice of what to expect from blockchain. Hey, look for more content from me. Again, sign up at crushthestreet.com for more email updates. Talk to you guys soon.